Support for Pakistani Zainabiyoun Brigade, 2014-present. In the intricate web of Iran's proxy forces across the Middle East, one group stands out as a symbol of Tehran's expanding influence and sectarian outreach beyond its borders. The Zainabiyoun Brigade, a Shia militia composed of Pakistani fighters, created, trained, and financed by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. The Zainabiyoun Brigade emerged in 2014 as part of Iran's broader strategy to safeguard Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria and extend Iran's ideological and military footprint across the region. For the IRGC, the Zainabiyoun Brigade was not merely another paramilitary force, it was a critical element of Iran's grand design to create a transnational Shia militia network capable of projecting Iranian power and challenging Sunni rivals in the Middle East. The origins of the Zainabiyoun Brigade can be traced back to Iran's long-standing ties with Pakistan's Shia community. Pakistan is home to one of the world's largest Shia populations, with millions of Shia Muslims concentrated in regions such as Karachi, Parachinar, and Gilgit-Baltistan. For decades, the Shia community in Pakistan faced systemic marginalization, sectarian violence, and persecution at the hands of Sunni extremist groups, making them a vulnerable and receptive target for Iran's ideological outreach. The IRGC, recognizing the potential of Pakistan's Shia population to serve as a source of manpower for its regional ambitions, began cultivating ties with Pakistani Shia leaders and organizations in the early 2000s. Iranian religious and cultural centers in Pakistan became hubs for ideological indoctrination, where the IRGC disseminated its vision of Shia solidarity and resistance against Sunni extremism. Through these channels, Iran laid the groundwork for recruiting Pakistani Shia fighters who could be deployed to advance Tehran's geopolitical objectives. As the Syrian civil war escalated in 2012 and Iran intensified its support for Assad's regime, the IRGC realized the need to expand its pool of loyal fighters. Drawing from its experience with the Fatemiyun division, a brigade composed of Afghan Shia fighters, the IRGC set its sights on Pakistan's Shia community to create a parallel force that could be deployed to Syria. By 2014, the IRGC had formalized the creation of the Zainabiyoun Brigade, named after Sayyida Zainab, the revered granddaughter of the Prophet Muhammad, whose shrine in Damascus became a rallying point for Shia fighters defending Assad's regime. The IRGC's recruitment strategy for the Zainabiyoun Brigade mirrored its approach with the Fatemiyun division. Pakistani Shia men, many of whom were impoverished and disenfranchised, were offered financial incentives, promises of Iranian residency, and ideological indoctrination to join the ranks of the brigade. Iranian recruiters exploited the vulnerability of Pakistani Shia communities, presenting the Syrian conflict as a holy struggle to protect Shia holy sites from the threat of Sunni jihadists such as ISIS and al-Qaeda. The IRGC framed the war in Syria as an existential battle for the survival of Shia Islam, appealing to the deeply rooted religious devotion of Pakistani Shia recruits. Once recruited, Zainabiyoun fighters were transported to training camps in Iran, where they underwent intensive military training under the supervision of IRGC Quds Force operatives. The training regimen was designed to prepare the recruits for the brutal realities of urban warfare, with a focus on marksmanship, explosives handling, guerrilla tactics, and close-quarters combat. In addition to military instruction, the recruits were subjected to rigorous ideological indoctrination, reinforcing their loyalty to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and instilling a sense of duty to defend Shia communities against Sunni oppression. By 2015, the Zainabiyoun Brigade was fully operational and deployed to Syria to fight alongside the Assad regime's forces and other Iranian-backed militias, including Hezbollah and the Fatemiyun division. The IRGC embedded Zainabiyoun fighters in key battlefronts, using them as shock troops in some of the most grueling and strategically important battles of the war. Zainabiyoun fighters played a pivotal role in defending the Sayyida Zainab shrine in Damascus, a symbolic stronghold for Shia fighters, and were deployed in major offensives in Aleppo, Homs, and Deir ez-Zor. The Zainabiyoun Brigade's contributions to the Syrian war effort came at a heavy cost. Hundreds of Pakistani fighters lost their lives in the brutal urban warfare that characterized the Syrian conflict. The high casualty rate underscored the IRGC's strategy of using foreign Shia fighters as cannon fodder to minimize Iranian losses while maintaining a strong military presence in Syria. Despite the heavy losses, the IRGC continued to replenish the ranks of the Zainabiyoun Brigade, recruiting new waves of Pakistani Shia fighters to replace those who had fallen. For the IRGC, the Zainabiyoun Brigade was more than just a paramilitary force. It was a critical instrument of Iran's axis of resistance, a network of Iranian-backed militias that served as a bulwark against Western and Sunni influence in the region. The deployment of the Zainabiyoun Brigade allowed Iran to extend its influence deep into Syria and beyond, creating a loyal proxy force that could be mobilized to defend Iranian interests and counterbalance the influence of Sunni rivals, particularly Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. But the IRGC's support for the Zainabiyoun Brigade was not limited to the Syrian battlefield. Iran also used the brigade as a tool of sectarian re-engineering, deploying its fighters to areas where Sunni populations had been displaced and replacing them with Shia families loyal to Tehran. This demographic engineering was part of Iran's broader strategy to reshape the sectarian landscape of Syria and solidify its influence over key regions of the country. The rise of the Zainabiyoun Brigade did not go unnoticed by Iran's adversaries. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan all viewed the creation of the brigade as a dangerous expansion of Iran's proxy network and a direct threat to regional stability. In 2019, the U.S. Department of the Treasury designated the Zainabiyoun Brigade as a foreign terrorist organization, FTO, citing its role in carrying out Iran's destabilizing agenda in Syria and its involvement in gross human rights abuses. The designation highlighted the growing concern among U.S. and regional policymakers that Iran's use of foreign Shia militias was not limited to Syria, but could be expanded to other theaters of conflict, including Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon. The fear was that Iran's success in building a transnational militia network through groups like the Zainabiyoun Brigade would embolden Tehran to pursue an even more aggressive strategy of proxy warfare across the Middle East. Despite international condemnation, the IRGC showed no signs of scaling back its support for the Zainabiyoun Brigade. Instead, Iran doubled down on its investment in proxy warfare, recognizing that its ability to project power through loyal militias gave Tehran a strategic advantage over its adversaries. The Zainabiyoun Brigade became an integral part of Iran's broader strategy of forward defense, a doctrine that sought to fight its enemies on distant battlefields rather than allowing conflicts to spill over into Iranian territory. As the Syrian conflict entered a new phase of reconstruction and consolidation, the IRGC's long-term vision for the Zainabiyoun Brigade became clear. Iran had created a loyal and ideologically committed force that could be used not only to maintain its influence in Syria, but also to serve as a reserve force capable of being deployed to other conflict zones where Iranian interests were at stake. The Zainabiyoun Brigade was no longer just a militia. It was a transnational instrument of Iranian power, ready to be activated wherever Tehran deemed necessary. For the IRGC, the success of the Zainabiyoun Brigade was a testament to Iran's mastery of proxy warfare and its ability to cultivate loyal Shia militias across multiple countries. The brigade had proven its effectiveness on the battlefield, solidified Iran's influence in Syria, and demonstrated that Tehran's reach extended far beyond its borders. As the region continued to grapple with the consequences of Iran's proxy strategy, the Zainabiyoun Brigade stood as a symbol of Iran's ability to reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, one militia at a time.